agenda, so we're just going to move steadily along. We're going to take all our vote tonight as a voice vote unless anybody objects, and stop me, and we'll do any of those as a roll call. Anybody wants done differently. We're going to move our county clerk to the first of the agenda and let her get through with hers, because she doesn't need to be here. She's got stuff to do. So, Ms. Crowell, if you want to come up, and Mr. Mayor, may have caught you off guard by moving the agenda around there. But
Okay.
I believe we're on page 13, behind tab 2. Is that correct?
Okay. Let me see here. We'll make a few comments. All right, the current budget is $945,000, and this budget request from her is $1,110,110, and my recommendation is $982,860. Let me see what we actually did there. Was there's a difference on all of these budgets where there's differences on this employee insurance and business? Those numbers are good numbers. Some of it happens just because of the increases. Some of it happens because of changes that employees make, and some of it happens on occasion where we may have added a person. All right. So
in this case where the insurance,
Reduced.
you're right, is less, that's,
What we do is.
then her ask, but it's more than current budget.
Yeah,
but it's accurate.
Yes.
What you budgeted is accurate for the rates
For
we
now.
projected.
For now.
Right,
Yes,
but we've already set the rates for 19, so we know.
Yes,
Okay.
but
you don't know what they'll choose.
I don't know what they'll choose.
I get you.
And if somebody leaves today and is replaced by somebody else and chooses a different
I get
option,
you.
that changes. That's
get
why
you.
I say, as of,
Okay.
we did this.
Okay, so there's really, now on the data processing services, she's had to make some changes in her software that supports this probates work that she has to do, so local gov that's an increase there because the current people are not going to be providing that service
He is
again.
retiring, and so we've chosen local government to go with. It's a proven system that the offices are using that does probate, and that's the increase that you're seeing. That's what local government will charge us for a maintenance fee each year.
So that's not part of the census.
Yes, it
It is
is.
census.
Well, the same people that produce Tensis that have written this probate piece of it. The people have written, circuit court clerk don't have this probate piece of it.
Yeah.
So the recommendation is $982,860.
Ms. Crowell, do you accept the mayor's recommendation?
I do.
Any questions? It looks to me like very much a continuation budget, with that one exception. Probably don't have much choice in it, and then whatever the insurance washes out to be.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Field.
Second.
Commissioner Allen. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Crowell. You have a good evening. We're going to go back to page 8, Community Learning. Dr. Payne. You were at the top of the list. You didn't fall too far.
I was worried there.
Tell your experience. You get your application in first, so you're always top of the list.
Yeah.
Well, as always, Dr. Payne is very, very efficient, effective, and limited staff. They're doing a great job. And the budget recommendation is $305,341, which is just a couple $100 off of his request. And, I don't even know what we changed, if anything.
It
Ms.
was the
Nolan may have
insurance.
changed a
It's
little
when
something.
it's, the difference on a lot of these is the application of the 2019 rates. So it changes some up, some down, depending on what they find.
Yeah, so he has a little bit more to pay his folks with more of the normal schedules.
Dr. Payne, do you accept the mayor's recommendation?
Absolutely.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Commissioner Ely. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dwayne. Appreciate everything you do.
You all are invited to our graduation Friday, 11 a.m. in your room where you meet. So come and see some kids get some diplomas.
How many graduates do you have this year?
7. Should have had more. See you.
Mr. Mitchell, come on up. Got Board of Equalization first, I believe.
Come up here. You want to sit here? No, sir. Right here's good.
Where we need to.
How are you?
Connie, welcome.
Mr. Mayor, this is the last one of these budget meetings, so we'll go through. I just want to give you a thank you card.
Okay.
I appreciate
I
it.
dare open this up. Could be a joke.
Is the sheriff still
Might be a
there?
letter bomb.
No, I really appreciate it.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay.
Board of Equalization, that's on page 1. It's up a little bit because they need some additional money to properly defend a likely increase in the number of appeals. So that's, he's increased that. Well, I think
You did.
I increased it.
Yeah, you did
25.
that.
I did that.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. But I mean, I think all of you that have seen a little bit about how much these appraisals have gone up, so I think we should expect more than we normally have coming through to have to deal with. So that's the reason that's up primarily from $8,000 to $33,000. The recommendation is $55,390.
Mr. Mitchell, do you accept that recommendation?
Reluctantly, yes. I hate to take that much money, but yeah, it's great.
I feel sure if you don't spend it all, you can roll some back.
Yeah,
in
we'll
the
roll it
year.
back.
On the wish of the committee. Thank you, Commissioner Jernigan.
I'll second it,
Commissioner Schaefer.
but I got to ask a question on the thing. Why are you saying that the appraisals are wrong? Is that what it is? Because if we take the certified rate that comes out, if everything is kosher, so to speak, then we shouldn't have a whole lot of people that what they're going to pay is going up.
Well, on the average, what the statement you just made is correct. But some properties will certainly go up with a higher percentage than some of the other properties, and it's already been pointed out previously, those properties that are in the lower scale of residential homes, likely their increases in percentage-wise
Right.
could be more than the upper income numbers. So it's a little bit of disparity there, even though on the average, quote, the certified rate gives us the same money we would have had otherwise.
Well, just to let you know, mine went up more than the median, let's put it that way, and I'm not planning on appealing, so.
Okay, well, thank you.
That's one we don't have to worry about.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. We'll move on to property assessor, page 11.
Okay, the request was $1,174,784. The recommendation is $1,161,203. Some of this is a little bit more difficult to explain, but let's see, Ms. Nolan, I don't think there's any new people in this particular budget. Is that correct?
There's not any new people in
Right.
this budget nor the next one.
Okay, and there were no new people requested here in this
There
particular.
was requested in the next one, not this one.
Not this one, okay. So I don't know that, let me see if there's anything of any real notability here, and Mr. Mitchell may have to point those out for me. But let me,
On the little sheet of paper I
Personnel
gave you
shows
right there, Mr. Mayor.
yeah,
Give a little
I haven't
addendum
been able
there.
to see that, but 30 seconds when
Here
I've
we
got
go.
here this.
There it is. There's only a couple of them in there that we really have a difference in at all, and Connie pointed this one out right here.
So are we on this particular 52,300?
Yes, sir.
Property assessor, okay, so let me just, if you don't mind, take a better look here.
Reduction in part-time, that is his request. I see that, part-time personnel.
52,300, 435.
435 is our first line item.
what we're looking at.
I was talking about 169, he requested 8140.
And I dropped that to
Dropped that to 5,000.
They haven't been spending hardly any money, period there, so I thought, I mean, it hadn't exceeded 5. I say 430. Office supplies. Okay.
I've provided everybody with the same copy that I had there for you if they want to
Okay.
take a look at it.
You provide me one for the,
Yes, sir.
for the
I
record?
think so.
I wouldn't mind seeing one, whatever
I
it
don't,
is.
I don't see one.
Well, I mean, we're estimated we're gonna spend 15,595, and I just said, you know, that's about all we spent previously, even with a budget greater than that, so why do we need to budget again? Whatever we budget here, we have to fund, and actual in 2017 was 15,073, 15,595, we think is about what's gonna be this year, and so you think you need more there? You made your request here, so
Go ahead, Connie, how much have we spent year-to-date so far?
Year to date, so far, we've already spent $14,503.
well, we just about cut off all additional purchase orders, so that's over. Where you gonna get any more money to
Right.
spend? As you amended.
Right. But, I mean, what you're allowing us was 15,500, and we believe we will exceed that 14,503 by the end of this year, is what we're looking.
Okay, I don't know how much you've got encumbered either,
Well,
so.
at the end of April, which is when all of this is in your estimate and budget, that is what is spent and what was encumbered. So what is
The
spent and
15
encumbered is 15,595.
You wanna make that
9 months
seven?
out of the fiscal year.
If you want a little bit more, I'll go up to 17.5. I'll change my recommendation.
That's on 435.
Yes, sir.
That is 2,000, we'll make that other number 163, 203.
Well, and there's, in 711, he's got another page on there. Desk, table, chairs, et cetera. We got a whole building full of stuff over there. Surely we can find some things to help you out over there in our,
I sent over to Lisa a copy of a photograph of the types of filing cabinets that we're going to have.
To me?
Yep. I emailed it over today.
Okay, don't count on me saying that.
But there's a particular type of file that they need for personal property. And the vertical files that are open to put the personal property accounts into to work the files, we've pretty much exhausted.
I don't know if they're over there or not, but we do have a building full of stuff that,
Yeah, if
Something has to
they've
happen.
got it that will work with it,
I
I'm
would
happy
support
to
it.
take them. But I don't know if they
I think
do or not.
that, just if you get with Sonia, or
I was gonna say, what do they look like again? Because
she's
I've gone
going
in
to
every
do.
floor.
Got a picture of it? Yeah, I got it on my phone here.
I hate to criticize, us sitting there at the 11th hour trying to talk about the description of filing cabinets
We
and
can't
sending an email the same day of the meeting. I mean, this is something that could probably be worked out, and if it needs the budget to be amended at the,
We can amend the
before we
budget.
pass the final budget.
yeah.
Because we don't necessarily need to be sitting here tonight talking about the style of filing cabinet. No offense to anybody.
Oh, no, that's no
at the
problem
table,
with me.
But, you know, we've got a room full of people waiting to go, and I feel sure we can
I'll
work
make a
this out.
motion that with the mayor's 2,000 and item 435, that we approve this budget.
We have that motion, Mr. Schaefer. I didn't get to ask if Mr. Mitchell accepted the recommendation, but
I'm good with it.
we need a second.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Fee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Maybe you all can talk about those filing cabinets sometime while we're doing this in the next few weeks.
Okay.
We move on to reappraisal, page 12.
All right. This will probably require even more discussion. But in line item 106, there is one budget position that you guys, that the commission approved last year that is yet to be filled. Now, Mr. Mitchell has requested another budget position in addition to that one. But my recommendation is there's a bit of extra money put through here through the process. I mean, dollars and positions is what controls what he's doing, and you know full well how that works. But there's an increase from the 701 to 718, which is about a 2.3% increase, which is a little more than the average typical increase within our other departments. So there's a nominal increase along with that one budget he has. That money, that one position that hasn't been filled, that money for that position can still be used. And it appears to me there's enough money to fill it with a person even at a higher pay than what you approved last year that's yet to be filled. So that's my reason for $718,270 there. We'll go, but my recommendation is $1,199,585. But there's one or two others that all of you, I'm sure, are going to ask questions about, and he's going to want to respond to. But in any event, we won't. There's nothing in those benefits there that we should discuss, I don't think. But we come all the way down to the next big item, is this data processing services. And there's a special additional piece of software there in that $225,000 that I don't think any of us disagree that it's a nice tool, but it's not a have-to-need tool. I mean, it's something that he may feel differently about in that respect, but it's something that I think that the public can use to gain additional information about other properties that may be similar to theirs in their similar neighborhood. But that amounts to about $102,000, it appears. And I have not included that in my recommendation. Now, past that, they may have identified, I haven't read all the detail of these other pages here, but there's some other things that they might want us to consider as well. But that's about the end of my broad comments, you might say.
709 to 30,000 requested and 15,000.
Yeah,
Data
and
processing
that's-
equipment, that more of that package from above.
No, that's not that package. That's some things, some additional tracking devices, I think, to put on the vehicles and on maybe improving them or upgrading them. I'm not sure what.
Yeah, the ones that we have are no longer going to be supported by the vendor. So we were looking to have those replaced through Verizon. We've been working through Brian's office over there in OIT with the Verizon rep to find a less expensive solution to the tracking devices. We believe we can still use the wireless hotspots in the vehicles that are there, but they just won't be trackable with the software the way it's supposedly going.
So the mayor's recommendation is $1,199,585. Mr. Mitchell, I'm guessing you're probably not accepting that recommendation, or?
I would just like to revisit 106, and we'll start with 317 with Spatialist first. And I think Commissioner Schaefer sat through one of the presentations with the vendor. It wanted him there because he's familiar with the way we actually appraise and with the deficit in experience that we now have in the department, because we've had people that have been hired away by the state. We'll train them, and then the state will give them $10,000 more, and they'll go over to Ward Circle and work for the state for more money. I can't blame them on that. If I didn't have to drive any further than that, I'd do the same thing. But it leaves us at a deficit with having to continue to pick up the houses with the massive amount of growth that we have, and have personnel that are able to adequately value the property and put it on. This software, one of the components to it, will actually do 85% of the work with getting the valuation correct. So the rest is left to the analysts in the office to complete that task. So we get much better, more defensible data with less experienced people going in. So while we may have to purchase the software, which is a software that will be cost shared with the cities because it is in the reappraisal budget. And they cost share with every expense in that they reimburse back to us. It gives us better, more defensible data on the front end. And it also has tools associated with it that allow people to look at their property and they say, oh, my property's crazy, there's nothing selling in my neighborhood in Lake Forest for this amount. They can pull up their property, they can see the actual sales that we used, and it will give an estimation and print off a card for them that shows this is what your actual market valuation is. So Davidson County has used that for residential. Sumner County, which is much smaller than us, uses the software. Montgomery County, which is smaller than us, utilizes the software as the 4th or 5th largest county in the state and the fastest growing county in the state. I just believe it's prudent for us to have at least the same expertise and tools that the much smaller counties have. It gives us better data, access to better data.
But the data is our data. It's just the way they're presenting it. They're retrieving data that's our data.
Part of it is our data. The specialist component actually formulates and gives us the numbers. That's the one that's actually stored on the desktop.
So is it going to reduce the labor required to do reappraisals? Can we reduce our staff?
We wouldn't reduce the staff, but our staff could be more productive, which in the long run is a reduction. We have a vacuum at the top. We have a lot of individuals in our office now that have been there 2 to 3 years. We only have, I think, 2 people as appraisers that have been through a reappraisal before, and that's 4 years ago in our appraisal department. So there is a vacuum in knowledge. Now, the people are hardworking, they're smart, they're dedicated, but it is difficult with an office that has essentially the same number of people that we had in 2004, when we only had 89,000 parcels, to keep up with the rapid growth and give the citizens what they expect as far as a professional product. Commissioner Schaefer, your thoughts?
Well, if I remember correctly, you can get parts of this and you can build on it over time too to get more information. And that may be something you'd be better off looking at it initially than the whole package.
And that's something that's the only reason I present the entire package is because it was it Russell, buy 2 get 1 free?
Buy 3 get 1 free.
Buy 3.
It's a 4-module package. You buy 3 modules, they give you the 4th one free. Anything less than 3 is individually priced.
I hate to spend money, but I wouldn't offer that if they weren't giving me a bargain on it.
And what are the 4 modules?
One of them is community.
And that would be the one that just the consumer, the citizen would access.
And you could go in and you could look at it and you could, oh, my house is this. What houses sold in my neighborhood? They'll pop up on the screen.
Yeah, I call it the nose neighbor.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It can also be used, it pulls up demographics that could be used. Mike pointed that out. I think you saw it too, Mike, right?
I was at one of the demos.
Right. Where actually Reba up in finance can use it for her grant writing because it's intuitive, it's self-powered. You need to know the demographics of a particular area. You draw a parallelogram around it, and it will pull up all the demographics, all the values.
What are the other 2?
The other one is the Spatialist, which is
Analysis tool set.
It's the analysis tool set.
Comper.
And then Comper. Well, there's Comper. Yeah, Comper. So you have Community, Comper, Spatialist.
And the tool set. Analysis.
So the 2 that you need are just the last 2 you mentioned for your staff.
The Spatialist is the most expensive component part of it. In the appeal section, actually, the Comper and
tool set.
And the tool set would be more appropriate for that. That would help in the appeals immediately, and they said they can have those up and running in about 2 weeks.
So what are the prices for each of those?
They're 30,000 and 28,000. I can't remember exactly what, but I think the aggregate package is somewhere around 90,000 if you buy the entire package.
The specialist tool is 2 items, 26,000 plus 15,000. And then every one of them has 1 or 2 or 3 items associated with it.
And then what's the ongoing maintenance fee? Usually a maintenance contract fee.
Yeah, I think that's on
That's the
there.
annual price.
That's
The license.
The licensing.
That's a
Year
2-year cost. I don't know, you have to look at all these pages to get the combinations put together.
Yeah.
It's a little tricky.
Well, the reason that I'm asking is because you asked for 225, the mayor's recommending the 111. That's a difference of
But that's, see,
113,000.
there's something else in here beside, this is,
Right.
includes other things.
Okay.
He's got this Patriot system, he's got some other mailing software, and then some other little
Yeah.
software. So he's got $111,700 of current stuff that he's gonna have to
Right.
continue with.
Right, but the increase was 113,000, and I'm trying to figure out, like Commissioner Schaefer said, if it's something that you can start with and build on, what is it we need? What is it the thing that your office needs? And I appreciate, the buy one, get one value, but,
Sure.
if we don't need all 4 of those,
Right.
and some of them are just nice to haves, then maybe the extra money's not worth it. And so that's just why I'm trying to figure out, what would you need to implement this? And that would be, what did you say, Mayor, 26,000?
Well, it's the specialist appraisal tool set is 26,000, and the setup, implementation, and training for that, that's the one, both of those are, one is 15,000 according to this piece of paper from
Right.
them.
26 plus 15.
$41,000 is what you need for specialist.
You mentioned the cities will help reimburse some of this.
Mhm.
So that number comes out of this number?
No.
It's billed.
We bill them once a year, once
Appraisal
every
cycle.
4 years, yes.
But
And
no matter how much we spend, we give, they pay a portion.
they pay a portion.
They don't have to
It ends
approve
up being about
extra.
30% of the cost,
The cities cover 30%.
about 30%.
Mhm.
And does it have to go through their approval process?
No,
Or it's just?
no, we bill them.
And,
So we
After the
can
reappraisal,
buy whatever
we
software
bill it.
we felt like, and they're gonna have to pay us for whatever we get.
Yes.
That's it.
If you remember the last,
I
there was
like that deal
a,
if I was them.
what was that last thing? It was the, what's that word? I want to say Oblique, but there's another thing.
Oh, yeah,
That other software that we bought, the
Pictometry.
pictometry. Thank you.
Pictometry.
The pictometry is like 100 and something a year. If y'all remember that discussion, it's in Brian's budget. And so we wrap that up into what we bill the cities as well.
The recurring cost, does it escalate with the extra components you put in? Like you buy 3, get 1 free, you get that 4th component, but is that much more annual maintenance cost? and
Yeah,
all
you'd have
go on
to, right,
top?
we'd have to have the annual maintenance
But
cost
but
on
that
it.
go, that's per,
Yeah.
bill per component, module.
Right.
And stuff, so
Spatial,
it might be in
yeah.
everybody's interest to give you that module, that way you're hooked into things that maintenance fee forevermore.
Each one of those, the 26,000 is the annual site license, and the setup on that one is 15,000. And the copper, you got an annual site license of 20,000 with a discount if you buy multiple. And then the setup is 2,000 on that. Community has an annual site license of 18,000 with a discount. And the design and style and setup is 5,000. So all of these are annual, the bigger numbers are the annual site. Every year, we're gonna have a reoccurring cost of 20, if you bought 3 of these modules, 20 plus 16 plus 40, you got about $56,000 a year. This is gonna be ongoing, it's not a one-time upfront.
Do you want to address any of the other line items, such as deputies?
The other one would be the 106, and that is we've had some experience, we've had a director depart, And those duties, while his base is still there, his duties were reassigned to about 3 other people and spread out. The position that we did request last year, we had intended on filling it. We have filled it just recently, but we've got 2 people that also went out on maternity leave that we've had to scramble around to try to fill a spot. So we've had a couple of people come back to work part-time that have been in the office before. So while it appears that it's an actual person, it isn't. It is to properly promote an internal position to pay them what they need to be paid for the work that they're currently doing. Because they're doing the work of a director, and they're not being compensated properly for it.
But you have the director position, right?
Yeah, we have a
Still have the
director's position in there. According to my calculations, we've got it in there.
Questions of Mr. Mitchell or the mayor? Or recommendations from the committee?
The $225,000 you were requesting back on that other line item, we'll go back to that for a second.
Yes, sir.
Does that take into account the yearly amount of money that it would take ongoing?
Right, that takes care of everything to set up. Now, next year, that amount would be something less because we wouldn't have the setup charges, but we would still have the annual licensing fee that we'd have to pay,
Which is around, what, 56?
about 56.
And then you're saying on the deputies that you're basically paying some part-time people when you're wanting up their pay, you're not wanting to add another person?
No,
He's got 2 on maternity, 2 out.
I've got 2 on maternity that we're still having to kind of pay out, and we've had to bring a couple of retired people in. They've agreed to come back and fill in.
But they're
So-
working part-time, they're not full-time employees. I mean, I
Yeah.
assume they're full-time.
Yeah, they're full-time, but
They're not
they're
planning on
temporary.
staying.
They're not planning on staying. So,
So you're not actually asking for another person here?
no, not really. I'm just asking that, I've got a couple of people that are
You
doing.
are asking for another position.
Well, I mean, that's what it's in. It's in my line item for another position. That's why I'm
Yeah.
questioning. Maybe it should have been over in part-time to
Well, there is no part-time budget here in the
No.
currently or otherwise.
I think
But
that part-time is just confusing. It's really, he's got 2 people out, and instead of bringing people in as full-time, they're just for this small period of time, they're just being paid out that same line item,
They're temporary full-time.
but it's temporary.
My question is, do we have the money to cover that in this
Yes.
budget
Yes.
outside of this one position? With that, if we
Yes.
took your recommendation, what I'm saying is,
There's
we
a-
still have the money to cover those people that are out on leave.
Yeah, because their
salary.
some of them are not compensated at the moment because they've used their leave. So that money is available in the budget to be paid, for the part-time.
Okay, that's what I was trying to.
There's enough money in the budget with the unused position that hasn't been filled, and with this 2.3% increase to hire, instead of the position you approved last year, to hire another person at a higher rate of pay that he has requested. That's how much that $718,000 will do.
Mr. Mayor, I'll ask you, do you stand by your recommendation of $1,199,585?
Yes, sir.
It's up to the committee.
I'll make a motion here in a minute of something. But the way I heard you say it, that position of the person that is no longer there, that you've given duties to 3 other people. So that's still an open position. Why can't this, quote, director or whatever that you were asking for go into that position? And then why can't we get rid of the open position that has never technically been filled and use some of that money to, probably when you take benefits and all with that, you can maybe get the two modules that are most important to you. Does that work? Do you
Well,
understand that?
I'm not recommending another position because I think he can.
No, I'm saying get rid of one.
He's gonna take money out of the salary
But
line
he's-
item and buy
you're
buy
not
a module or two, more or less.
Yeah.
To summarize.
Yeah, because he's still, the person that's no longer there that he divided up that person's job to, that's an open position right now too. Is what-
And he hadn't spent all of that money that that person was
Yeah,
making
no.
among these other three people. He has not
Yeah.
used that money. That money is still there on the table. Plus the money
Plus,
for the open
another,
position.
yeah, that one.
So he can put a person in that position at a much higher rate of pay if he so chooses.
Not trying to kick the can down the road, but I believe if this budget were approved, come in at any time during the fiscal year and have to move money from one line item to another to buy a module.
Let the
At
decision,
that point in time.
let them over in the assessor's office mull it over and decide what it is that they
Well,
want the most.
In the past, we've never been able to move money from an HR position to purchase software.
Yeah, typically, we do not like to move
We don't like to,
money.
but it would be possible. The
It's
board has
possible,
this- The
but-
commission has that authority.
Yes, y'all can move it. We do, yes.
We're going to make the motion that we approve this budget as stands.
As presented by the mayor.
Yes.
Approve the mayor's recommendation. Motion by Commissioner Schaefer, do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Ely?
I suppose if we get to the end of the budgeting process and there's a little bit of money left over, then we can put this software on our list of things that we could continue to consider.
We're going to have to keep a list of,
Okay.
maybe not necessarily a wish list, but needs that may not be as priorities, as much of a priority as others, and work that and consider them at the end.
We can put the monkey on Mr. Mitchell's back too, and let him come back with it later, and also it gives him time to look at how he wants to fill the position over there, if he does, or however, with that open position he's gotten, and if he wants the money and benefits from the one that's never been filled, if he wants to move it to something to buy then we can do that before we get till the end of June.
Absolutely.
To do
Well,
that.
what about I use some of the unspent money from this year to carry over and buy it?
That goes to fund balance and fund this
Well,
deficit.
can I take it out of the fund balance?
That'll be the- that'll be the
Unless you want to take it out of about 30 more offices and departments.
But
We have a motion and a second, and there's a good possibility we'll look at this again, sounds to me like, before we approve the budget. Mr. Fee?
The difference between the mayor's recommendation and your request on that line, particular line item for the software there, or data processing, it's, unless I've not added right, it's $113,000. Will that cover purchasing all the software and the?
Yes,
okay.
sir.
I just want to make sure I've got the numbers and I.
Yeah,
Right.
that cover everything.
All right, thank you.
Any further discussion? Motion to approve the mayor's recommendation. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Mitchell.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Leonard. Mr. Key. Appreciate y'all being here.
One last question on this software. Have you talked to IT about this? I still have a bad taste about software. And I'm gonna ask that to just
That's
about
why I had
everybody.
Mike over there sitting through one of the presentations. It's GIS based.
Well, we get to talking about this again. Be ready for him to jump up and explain that this is the best stuff that ever walked, so.
Thank you very much, y'all. Good evening.
Thank you, everybody.
Resource. Ms. Stevenson. Page 2. tab 2.
Okay. Okay, personnel, the budget this year is $375,047. She requested $399,334. And believe it or not, the mayor is recommending $412,964. The only thing that's obviously that I have anything to do with, we can go over some of the other details, but $599, those other charges, we're moving $10,000 out of the mayor's miscellaneous budget, which was 70,000. We're reducing that by 10,000 because these are some things that she's handling and managing, like interns and scholarships and things that we're paying. So it'd just be better to put in her budget than my budget, okay? So we reduced mine by 10 to accommodate that 10. Now, I don't think there's any real new people up there, is there, this go out?
No, sir.
So if you want to, I don't have anything else to point out that's significant.
Ms. Stevenson, I take it you accept the mayor's recommendation?
Yes, sir.
Motion to approve the budget.
Thank you, Commissioner Teague.
I'll second.
Commissioner Schaefer.
I have a question for you, though. Line 101, we've got the salary, it looks like, was at 105, and the recommendation is for it to go to 115.
And I see we're at this amended budget this year is 111,
111.
712.
And so,
We're going up to we are going to 115.
and what,
So on some of these, they were limited to increases in prior years. So that's
Just double checking
really
mine.
what the reflection is.
There'll be several where they were capped, salaries are capped, and so then the following years, so you'll probably see that in other budgets moving forward for any salaries that were capped.
There have been salary surveys, studies made, and there are some changes made in several particular positions.
So how many positions are in this line item?
One.
One.
And so that's a 3.3% increase on that one. And what's our step raise? What's the?
1.7.
175.
This was from the salary survey from 2 years ago.
That was the biggest one that just caught my eye. Okay.
Any other questions or discussion? Do you have a motion to approve the mayor's recommendation? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you.
County Attorney, Mr. McCrary. Right there you are.
There he is.
Page 3.
Okay, before we get going here, Lisa and her arithmetic has changed the line item 331 to 108,523, which means that the total recommendation is 263,861, which is exactly the same as it is this year. So so there are no changes in what we're doing here. I think there was a little bit of
There was a change in insurance.
insurance of which,
So I needed to,
so we put more money down in legal services that we'll probably need that and more, but that's what she's done.
Josh, you accept the mayor's recommendation
I do, yes, sir.
on the wishes of the committee.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner
Second.
Allen. Commissioner Ely. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Josh, thank you for all your
Thank
help.
you. Appreciate it. Thank you all. Just in time for the rain, I think.
Registry of Deeds, page 4.
she gave me so.
There she's on.
I'm Allison Young, Ms. Dahlberg's registered assistant.
Oh, welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Well, there's really not much for me to point out here now. Her request was $351,049. The recommendation is $346,169.
It was just the insurance.
It's an insurance differentiation there that about $4,000. So that's the only real difference in her request and what you have here in this recommendation. And as we've said before, this insurance business is what it is what it is. And Finance Department has computed that.
And I take it you guys are accepting the mayor's recommendation?
Yeah, from my understanding, she said the only difference she explained to me was possibly the travel, because when she explained
The
something.
travel, yes, it's it was in her request, and I spoke with her, and she's going to pay it out of fees instead of coming through the county budget. She'll be paid it out of fees. We
That's
just
the
want to
only
make sure
difference.
it's not both places.
Yes.
Well, besides that, we got that worked out. What are the wishes of the committee?
Motion to approve the mayor's request.
Thank you, Commissioner Schaefer. Commissioner Jernigan. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Nice to meet you.
Just ask a general question to make sure I'm thinking right. No, it has nothing to do with this.
She's getting a little worried looking at her.
It's just April is where these estimated expenditures.
That's when we closed our books.
And
This is April 30th.
These salaries also include the 1.75%,
Are you talking about
the steps.
Okay,
In the recommendation.
Yes.
that includes, there are some salaries that have been adjusted.
Few have been adjusted. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Ready for planning and / engineering. Mr. Mossy, Mr. Hughes, welcome.
Evening, Commissioners. Mayor Burgess.
Hello.
We're still on page 5 and 6.
Okay, and their current budget's $1,028,000. They've asked for $1,102,582. And my recommendation is $993,512. And let's see, there's really no significant changes in any of the personnel numbers. We have, you'll notice, line item 308, there's $50,000 that we haven't had heretofore. And we're going to start a study of the, what do we call this?
Long-range transportation.
Long-range transportation roads need to be revisited and be determined what's we need and what's priority, et cetera. So this is just the first piece of, a bigger piece of money on doing that over the next year or two. I don't know how long it'll take.
For a couple of years, yes, sir.
Is this where you'll have input from the county people like we have in the past?
Yes, sir. And we would kind of do what we did with Lakewood, the comprehensive plan, send out an RFP, take proposals, pick a consultant, and then do a process from there, similar to what the city of Murfreesboro just finished doing not too long ago.
Okay, and the other line item is 709 net data processing equipment. In other words, they asked for 77, and I've reduced that to $50,000. Lisa's already told me why I did that once today, but what's your understanding on that, Doug?
That was the money from the, last week, the software package.
Oh, the
This
software
was
package.
improved.
Yeah, they had some money in there for that software, and we were taking care of that in this fiscal year, so that's,
That was taken out, we didn't need it.
they didn't need that.
And that was going to be a 3-year payment, though, paying it over 3 years. So is this enough money to pay?
Well, what we ended up approving at committee last week, put everything in this fiscal year's budget for the startup. And then moving forward for the rest of the 5-year period, it was just going to be annual maintenance, and that was going to be out of a different budget.
It's going to be out of the codes budget.
Right, yeah, so.
Was it codes or OIT?
Codes, building codes, excuse me. But this, the money moving forward, because we weren't sure exactly where we were in the process, is no longer required, so we just took it out.
And the other thing in reconciliation, I guess, in consideration of the fact that we're spending a lot of money this year, current year on this software we're talking about, we're not recommending any vehicles again.
And just for our knowledge, how old are your vehicles?
They did.
I know you got one last year. How old are your vehicles?
The Model T.
We're limping along. No, we've got 2005, 2007 models. We have 2000. I think the Doug's is a 2007. Yes. So we have 2000, two 2007s, 2005.
So the youngest one's 11 years old.
Yes. We'll limp along.
Doug, do you guys accept the mayor's recommendation?
Yes, sir.
On the wishes of the committee?
Motion to approve is presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen. Commissioner Jernigan. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Stormwater, page 39.
Well, current budget's 243,000, and the request was 236,736. The recommendation is 222,944. The only real change, I think, we come all the way to the line item, data processing equipment, 16, and we've reduced that to 1,000. I think we put
That's the same thing.
that 15,000 was moved over into the budget we just discussed. Correct. They can buy it out of that amount of money on that same line item out of their budget. That's what we've done there.
You guys accept the mayor's recommendation?
Yes, sir.
I wish to the committee.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Commissioner Ely. Getting worried there for a second. All of, wait a minute, Commissioner Schaefer, you have a question?
Just on the stormwater.
Yes, sir.
Do we have land disturbance fees when they go in and do a subdivision?
Yes, sir.
Doesn't that money go to this?
Yes, sir, it does.
We do have it. It's not much.
It's not much.
It's
It's about
how much it
50,000,
is.
50 to 75,000. Yes, sir.
Well, I'm just
Oh,
going,
I did bring my reps budget.
I'm getting older, but I remember in the cities and all this, how all this stuff with the construction and all was gonna pay for all this. Back, what, about 8 years ago when this came through? You don't have to look at the budget.
It's in there.
So we at least have a little bit that goes to it. Okay.
Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
You all have a good evening.
Thank you.
County buildings. Ben, welcome. Back at page 7. Are you not, Dan?
Pretty good. Okay, this is going to require a bit more discussion here. Of course, the current budget is 2.583 million. Ben initially requested 3,700,449. My recommendation is $3,218,628,000. So we might as well sort of take this from the top. Okay, so really, maintenance personnel, that line item, 167. We're at 224,917 in current year budget. That included one new person for 3 months for the judicial center maintenance, and it's going to take that person full-time for sure. So what?
Plus
that-
another one.
Plus another person, another position, not for the judicial center, but for Ben, right? For the maintenance tech, I think. In any event, 312,630 is what he asked for, but it's going to take, to make this happen, $322,097. So that's a significant increase. Now, the part-time 169 line item, 321,930, that had some additional part-time for a few months for cleaning purposes in that building over there, the judicial center. Now, we have taken bids and we're not going to be using part-time people, we're going to use a contract service. And that's going to be another line item. So that looks like that line item has gone down from 321 to 282, which it has. But we're going to have to increase the other contracted services line item to get this done by an outside firm. Now, Lisa, stop me.
And then also in that is the improvement to the part-time custodians.
Okay. We have given, on the average, we've got our part-time people about a 75% increase, and they're all up to about 1050 with this increase. So that's about their base pay, so you still see it's not major dollars, but we're making progress. Okay. So we can, of course, the insurance is up because we've got a couple of additional people proposed here. And if you come down to other contracted services,
That's That's the bid, the bidded.
The bid that we got is about $10,000 a month, I believe, wasn't it, Ben?
Just 10,600.
600.
Okay, so it's a little more, but it's about about $120,000. That increase is to
The
actually.
bid for cleaning.
The bid for cleaning that building, yes, ma'am. So that's a particularly noteworthy item. Then we've got two on utilities on 452. We've got two additional buildings. We've got the Judicial Center, and we're going to have 525 North University. So you can see that we've gone from $555,000 budget to $931,000, $392.
But you're guessing on this first year, right? What part of this?
Well, we have some reasonable numbers that of the Judicial Center from the contractor, because they've had that full building on for months now, so we have a reasonable idea that this should be pretty close.
We compared some similar sized buildings, not in this district, but within the state. We compared two buildings.
All
But
that
it's
being
still, yes, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, that's fine. That being said, with these increases, it started out with a list of items that was total $750,000 for building improvements on line item 707, and we've pared that down substantially to $400,000, which is just a little bit more than the $347 that we've amended the budget to this year.
So what are we not gonna do that we were gonna do if we'd gotten the 750?
Maybe try to let a roof go on for another year or two, or another year, maybe. We've got a couple roofs that I kind of slated for replacement that kind of keep at them.
Keep patching. What about the old judicial building?
There's no money in, the old judicial building will be under its own set of terms, you might say, if and when the full commission approves.
We're gonna have heat.
Oh, yeah, he's got a little bit in there. He's got, you're talking about the heat. I thought you were talking about the actual work. No.
We gotta decide what to do with it first.
Yeah, we know what we want to do with it. We just hadn't started the process. Have to get some design money approved first. Okay, so that recommendation is $3,218,628.
Mr. Mankin, do you accept the mayor's recommendation?
Yes, I do.
What the wishes of the committee?
Motion approved.
Thank you, Commissioner Jernigan.
Second.
Commissioner Bond. Other questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Then I had a question. The escalator down the new judicial building, at noon, does it reverse and come the other way to bring people back down?
You have to flip a switch.
Flip a switch, okay, well, get all those people up the escalator, gotta get them all back down.
Right. And you just flip, it's just a little toggle switch on it that changes direction.
Archives, Mr. Floder, welcome. Page 8.
Real good coming up to Ben's budget. Okay, this is a very efficient operation here. Of course, the current budget's $180,938. This is Nodal had $185,027 requested, and we made a few little dingy changes. You might say $180,467, basically a continuation budget.
Mr. Floder, do you accept the mayor's recommendation?
I do.
What were the furniture fixtures that you wanted that you're not gonna get?
We took in a lot of records, you can imagine, from the move from judicial buildings, 400 books for one example. I don't know how many boxes. And so we weren't sure a concrete budget on those shelves. We're pretty close. The mayor actually lowered from 4,500 to 2,500 because we're trying to raise 103 a little bit, so I was going to compromise, but I'm fine with this budget.
Well, they tell me there's a building full of stuff right across the street. You can go, you and Mr. Mitchell
Hopefully
go over
nothing
and get some
important's
files
left in it.
together.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner P. Commissioner Jernigan, any questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. Thank you very much. Have a good evening. Risk management, come on up, Melissa. Next lucky contestant. Page 9.
Okay, well, most of the increases, we're recommending $1,549,497, which is even a bit more than she actually requested, $1,482,017. But we'll start at the top. Now, you'll think there's some changes up here on this top part of it, but we just simply, 189, that line item for other salaries went down a little bit, but we moved a person, I think, up into 162. So the net effect of that is really less money between the two of them. So that's really no change up there. Melissa, you can stop me. As we go down through here, there's nothing else on that page that's significant. A little bit of change in office supplies. Now here, when we talk about building and contents insurance, liability insurance, the premiums on corporate surety, which is a one-time every 4 years kind of, well, every 2 years, depending on how many people get elected in a particular period that we have to bond them. But we've just taken quotes and bids on building and contents and liability insurance, and you can see that what we're going to have to pay is going up. That's where all the increase is.
Health insurance, the price is what it is.
That's
Well,
right.
we built schools, we bought more
And-
contents, we've got new judicial
Got a
building, all
new-
those
yeah.
things drove the cost up.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, one of the things that I want to talk about is supervisor pay, because, and I know I've mentioned this to the mayor before, I worked for 18 years in the healthcare industry, and so I've worked with folks like Ms. Street, and so I know how valuable she is. And also serving on the insurance committee, you know, you and I had this conversation that this is so complicated, we need to make sure that whoever's sitting in that chair that's not you, you know, in the fall, you know, really knows what they're going on, knows that situation, what's going on. And so I reached out to Willis and asked them in the private sector, because they're not known for overpaying their people, just to find out generally what would they pay in this market. And they said for her position, in the 75th percentile, they'd pay $101,400. If you go to salary.com, the peak in this market is $120. She's at $92. And then subsequently, I don't know, because her salaries are not broken out for her number twos, you know, her assistants. You know, we need to make sure that those are also in line. You know, as 75 percentile for her number two person would be $60,000. Salary.com would be $64,000. And I would trust her judgment to allocate that however she deems fit. But it's important to me that we keep somebody of her caliber on staff. She's not threatened to leave. She's not asked to leave. This is not anything that's been prompted by her. It's my concern that we make sure that we have the right leadership in place now and going forward. So, and I know the private sector, the public sector can't pay what the private does, but again, like I said, they're not known for overpaying their people, and these are only 75th percentile numbers. So I think we really seriously need to look at it. And if we need time for Sonia to do a salary survey and verify some of this, we can do that. But I think we need to look at that number. I think it's time.
Our salaries are based on the 50th percentile, not the 75th. So that does make a difference in the survey data. And historically, we've not compared to the private sector because many of the common jobs would pay differently in the private, but we do play on the 50th percentile, just so you kind of know the difference between that, because that does change it a little bit.
Within my department, I don't have an assistant risk management, whatever that would be called. We did recently, the person who is kind of my senior person who does all the system stuff, and she's kind of helps whenever I'm not available. I did ask that it get looked at by HR and finance, and they made it $1,819. I guess that includes her step and the increase for her. And we've just relabeled her position to senior benefits specialist as well. So
is that close at all to the numbers that I just shared that she'll be paid at?
No, it fits her like at 48, I believe, 47, 48. I know it's below 50.
49,892.
Yeah, I wish I had brought with me the numbers of, and you know this, Mary, the millions of dollars that Melissa has saved this county just with recommendations that she's done. She holds our experts accountable to make sure that they're delivering on what she's not one of those directors that's led by the consultant. She's the one who says, XYZ, you better be meeting this benchmark. She knows what she's doing, and I'm just telling you, there are not that many people out there who are a Melissa Street, and I just think it's unfair. And that's one of the reasons why I was looking at your director numbers, and I'd asked Lisa for some director numbers. I want to make sure across the board that our leadership team, is paid what they need to be paid, and this is an area that I have felt like for some time was low, and so I'm asking for us to revisit it.
Certainly, we'll be happy to revisit.
Who would you like for us to compare to? We just did that again this year, and we compared to Montgomery County, the surrounding larger counties, Hamilton, Montgomery, City of Franklin, City of Murfreesboro, Metro Nashville, Wilson County.
And I don't know how far we can step out of the policy of the 50%. And
It's actually, y'all said that, and so, if y'all want to
I'm just
raise
being in line,
it.
and that's what, everybody's is set on.
And the reason that I say that is because just like when Mr. Mitchell was sitting here and he was talking about, the averages and the houses and all that, we all know not all houses are created equally. Just because one house sold for $150,000, the one next door might not be worth $150,000. One had kitchen upgrades and one didn't, and one had a new roof and one didn't, and one had new windows and one didn't. That's where we're at here. We got a new roof and a new kitchen and new windows, and I feel like the value is there. And so whatever we need to do to honor that value, I think we need to do it. And we need to make sure that she's got the latitude to have the staff that she needs the same way, because we lost Kelly, I guess, to Cigna, and I'm only assuming it was for money. I mean,
No, she had actually resigned. Her husband was scheduled to go out to another state for work, and then the Cigna job came open after she had already given her resignation, so that just kind of worked out to our favor.
I just expected that they were cherry picking your team because you've got a strong team.
They would like our business too much to do that.
We could go back to, I can't remember the man's name, but 2 times before.
Hines.
Hines, and he went to Metro for a significant pay increase up there. And then the last one,
Lois.
Miller, yeah. She elected to come here because she was with Cigna making a lot more, but she came here, and all these people were knowledgeable about the private sector, that's the boon to mankind right there, is they come in here and they know what's going on overall, which we didn't have before. But she took the pay cut because she had grandchildren now.
And I'm confident that's what Ms. Street has done for whatever, for her personal reason. And again, this is my issue. This is not her issue. This is me trying to lobby on her behalf because this is the time and the place to do it. So.
Mr. Mayor, would you have an opportunity to look at this and be able to bring it? We can pass this budget tentatively tonight, and if we need to
Well, we'll do that along with any other folks that needs the same consideration.
And that's why I asked Lisa to give me some information on directors and assistant director pay, just kind of across the board. I asked for it very last minute, only because I have graduation brain. And so all I can think about right now is graduation, and it occurred to me at 3 o'clock today, oh, we have a budget meeting today happening too. So I'm sorry, I should have asked you for that earlier.
So back to the budget presented. Melissa, do you accept the mayor's recommendation? I know it's uncomfortable seeing people talking about your salary right now. What's the wishes of the committee?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Petty, Commissioner Allen, any questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Melissa.
I'm sorry if I embarrassed you.
Everything she said was true.
Do I?
It's not okay. It happened, but I know it's not okay because I've done it.
Mr. Beatty, ready for the trustee? What does it feel like to be down toward the bottom of the agenda? I don't remember it ever happened to you before.
There's a lot to be learned from Miss Kroll, I found out. Somehow she snuck to the top.
Page 12. The chairman yields to, niceties, but being polite to
Oh, I see. I didn't see that little. Okay, this is $911,490 is the recommendation, and I don't have a single thing to tell you that's just not routine about that budget. And his request was $912,550, and there were a little bit of benefit changes somehow from the finance department.
Line 399, other contracted services, did that get moved somewhere else? Because there's not.
399.
$13,500 is not in your recommendation.
Okay, we moved
They go to postal.
to postal charges.
That's your
Is it
mailing
right?
service. isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that moved up right there. Okay, that makes sense.
Does it need to come back down?
Yes, really.
Okay.
Where'd it move up?
I just,
The line above.
yeah.
Oh, I see.
399, 348.
Oh, I see, yeah, the 35.8 to 49.3, I'm
It's the
sorry.
same thing, but it's,
Yeah, the two of them together would be the
yeah, let me fix that.
49.3.
I fixed that on one side, not on the other.
Okay, we didn't catch that today, did we?
Explain line 540. Is that how much it costs to implement it, or is that how much we lose? Or,
That's what we pay out in our match. That's
Oh, okay,
just
that's-
match dollars. When we match 2 for 1 up to a total of $306, that's what those dollars are.
I don't know what that means.
that's not tax relief then, that's the
county
state's
pays.
thing that we
Pays part of the tax
Pays part of the
bill
tax bill.
for those people in certain income tax.
Under 20, this last year, under just, I think, 29,180, it pays part of their taxes for, it pays the first $25,000 for those 65 or older or disabled homeowners. First 26.5, it went up. Pays the first 175,000 for disabled veterans. And the state pays that part. We match, the county commission, y'all voted several years ago to match the state 2 for 1. But when we put in the freeze, we put a cap on that at a total match of $306 is the cap that the county will match. And so that's where those dollars, that 650,000 is to pay for the matching portion. There's no implementation cost in that. Those are just strictly dollars to balance the tax roll.
And what is the average income that you're looking at of the over 65 for that qualify for the tax freeze?
I'm not sure. What the number is for that is 41,006, I believe it's 41,680 will be the new number for this year. That's based on the average income of seniors 65 or older in the county. So that varies by county, from county to county. The 29,180 is the same in Anderson County as it is Rutherford County, Shelby County. That's a state number. But the freeze fluctuates based on income in the county.
Right, that's why I was asking, because I didn't
Yes,
know what
just-
it was here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But there's no match associated with the freeze.
Right.
That just freezes, and that's not reflected in these numbers. That's just actually what we pay out in matching dollars.
I had somebody ask me
Sure.
recently, and I wasn't sure what the number was.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Beatty, do you accept the mayor's recommendation?
Absolutely.
Mr. Mayor, I cut you off. Are you through your
Yes, ma'am.
explanation?
Nothing else.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
No second.
Commissioner Schaefer. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tiff. Have a good evening.
Y'all too.
GIS. Robertson, Curtis. Mr. Moore, you want to come on up? We'll get to you. Your name's not on the first part, but it's on the second part, so everybody come on up. Page 6.
Okay, this is GIS, and the current budget is 1597512, and the recommendation is 1337059. Their request was a bit more than that, 1,418,354. So on the first line item 121, they had a request in for an additional person there in GIS, and which would have increased that line item to 303,784, but without, my recommendation is not to include that person. That reduces that to 246,202, which would in turn reduce the insurance, et cetera. So until we get down to the There's a little bit of increase on data processing equipment, but that we're 18,000 that we're recommending they do that. This other capital outlay, they know better than I that they don't have to do the same flyovers quote every particular year, so it's less this coming year. So that's a substantial decrease there. $1,337,059 is the recommendation.
Well, whichever one of you is appropriate, do y'all accept the mayor's recommendation, Mr. Curtis or Mr. Moore or Mr. Roberts?
We do. We
You
do.
do.
Yes, we do. All of us.
Thank you for the, for that, for the wishes of the committee. Got sidetracked.
You're one person that you're not getting, what were they gonna do?
I'd go ahead and address that just briefly.
Okay, this was going to be a senior analyst, kind of like a second in charge type person, and that they would then help manage the other personnel in addition to performing other duties such as systems administration at the GIS level, and also the portal-based software that goes with our GIS that we're going to be implementing this next year.
So how are we gonna do that job without that person?
Same way we've been doing it for
We're gonna
4 or 5
manage.
years.
Exactly. The same way. Exactly the same way.
Just curious what the plan was.
I'll make a motion to approve the mayor's recommendation.
Thank you, Commissioner Pete.
Second.
Commissioner Allen. I appreciate y'all wanting to play nice. Y'all were reluctant to get into that. So. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Information technology, page 14.
Excuse me. Mr. Chairman, next year, that flyover goes back up?
Yes, correct.
Okay, and data processing 52,600. Current budget's 2,982,000. They asked for 3,488,000, and my recommendation is 3,269,12. And let's start up here in 121. 121, they wanted 3 additional people with all the new technology and the new equipment, et cetera, especially in the new building. They wanted 2 techs, as I've written down here, and 1 senior systems administrator. And the recommendation includes the addition of 1 tech and 1 senior systems administrator. So there's 2 additional positions in my recommendation, 1 less than what they requested. That again will change the benefits and change the insurance on that. Let's see, we can come on down the line here. And I guess, Brian, I don't remember why I reduced communication from 265 to 240, but we're not, I think it's just, we're not on trend to spend the 265, which is the current budget. I don't know if any of us really remember that, but the maintenance agreements have gone up a bit because we've got a lot more stuff, a lot more equipment, et cetera. And 709 is a big line item, 552,500 this year. They asked for 790, but we tried our best to still keep everything they must have, and I reduced that 790 to a recommendation for $640,000. So I think that's the main points of change.
You guys accept the mayor's recommendation?
We do. All of us.
What equipment were you gonna purchase that you're not gonna be able to get now?
Well, a big part of it was we had set aside $72,000 to purchase servers that we didn't get to replace this year because of money that had to be used for other things. We're just going to basically get less servers and less computer equipment, computers, monitors that we typically replace on a yearly cycle. So we're just reducing those numbers this year.
And then you've got the servers and such that you need to support the new planning departments.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Yes, we do. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's still in there.
Has this got money in there to My understanding is you'll be moving from downstairs to another location.
The data, yes, the data center will move, and most of that burden does fall on us, and the senior system administrator that the mayor has recommended would definitely play a big part in that move.
Item 169, does that have something to do with part-time personnel not getting that third person? And it's going up, what, 29,000 in 2 years?
It's going from 52,000
Well,
to 68.
I look at 2017, it was 39,000.
Yeah, that was
now.
the actual. I don't know what the budget was. That's correct.
The original was 52, so 52, and then it stayed at 52, and then we requested 68. Yes, it was in part, through discussions with the mayor, it was in part an attempt to have some part-time personnel accomplish some of the kind of volume-related increase that the entry-level technician would have worked on, yes.
Any further questions, or is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
I second.
Commissioner Fee. Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Commissioners.
Adoption and welfare services. Mr. Gregory, welcome.
Before Brian and them leave, I would like to just commend them for getting everything running over there in this judicial building. I mean, it's just working great, and it's a very, very complex. We don't know how many 100 miles of wires in that building, but it's all connected and doing what it's supposed to do. Door controls, all the electronic things that are happening is remarkable.
Congratulations.
Appreciate everything you do.
Wilkie Buchanan's not present, but he was huge, played a huge role, and Darren did as well, and really the whole team, and appreciate those comments.
They've spent substantial numbers of days on extra time over there because there wasn't any other choice but to do it.
Thank you.
Be on page 34. Mr. Gregory, welcome. How are you tonight?
Doing well, yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Gregory, let's see here now. Looking at the big picture, the current budget's $1,903,000. This recommendation is $2,008,849. They had requested $1,970,721, so it turned out a bit more than that when we actually put in some of the proper numbers there. All right. Let's see here. The attendance line item, that 164, we talked a little bit earlier about some specific areas that needed some pay increases, and we have, again, tried to increase the pay for his, I guess you could say, first-line people so that we can maintain, and reduce our turnover, et cetera, and keep the good people. So there is some special dollars in there for those people. There's no additional people there, it's just trying to increase what their compensation is. Then when we go down to 189, you can see where current pay is, current number is 76,345. That is one vet, and increasing this to 150,233 will be an additional vet. So we'd have two full-time veterinarians here, and hopefully we can accomplish that with a reasonable increase for the current vet to try to keep that particular person. So that's a big change, and of course that adds additional money to this insurance and benefits as always. If we come all the way down the line, we'll see if there's anything of other real significance. You can stop me, Mr. Gregory, if there's something, but the only other thing that we currently have in this amended budget for other equipment was $94,000, but he asked for $40,000 going forward, even though we spent more than that this year, and that's the recommendation. So the total recommendation is $2,008,849.
Mr. Berger, do you accept the mayor's recommendation?
Yes, sir, right there.
On line 357, it says veterinary services. Did we move that money somewhere else? Did
Yes.
we move that up into the other line?
If you recall, I've done several budget amendments throughout the year for the veterinarian that's currently there wanting to be a contract employee versus a part-time. So that amount is lower since we added that full-time
So that's where we're going
veterinarian.
to see that number go down?
Yes.
I make a motion, we accept the mayor's recommendation.
Thank you, Commissioner Ely.
Second.
Commissioner Jernigan. Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you, sir.
Go back to page 1, County Commission.
Well, this is the board and committee member fees and a few other dues and memberships, but it's roughly the same as it's been previously, $261,242.
What are other contracted services? Is that when we pay somebody for the minutes or?
Yes.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Commissioner P. Just as a side notice, I'm a leaving commissioner and won't be affected by any of this. I don't think we've adjusted commission pay in at least 20 years. Not necessarily recommending we do, but just as a side note, it's been the same amount since sometime in the early 90s, if I'm not mistaken, so.
Well, Ms. Nolan's working on that now.
Didn't when we first came on,
Rick
and it
Sage-
don't
Not
up?
changed
When
since
Rick
we've been
Sage-
here.
When Rick Sage left, that was when it was adjusted, wasn't it?
I thought it went into effect in 2002.
Did it go into effect when we came on?
Man,
It's
yeah.
been the same since I've been here.
Yeah.
I didn't remember, I thought it was earlier than
I
that.
think it was the commission before that did it. That's
We're
what
not
I-
supposed to be doing it for the big bucks anyway, so.
Scott Rogan just left. Now's the time to do it.
Yeah.
That'd be
I'm just
fun.
kidding. I'm just
Headlines.
kidding.
I think it happened in 98, didn't it?
It's whenever Rick left, because he's the one who made
Oh,
the
Rick?
motion.
Well,
No, he
It
he
didn't happen.
didn't leave till 2006.
yeah, we haven't voted on it since I've been here.
I think it was 98, he was around then.
But anyway, we're not supposed to be doing it for the money anyway. We're supposed to be doing it just for the good of the community. Have a motion and a second. Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. County Mayor.
Okay, recommendations, $642,517, and I've already told you that $599 was reduced 10,000, we moved that over to HR. And Ms. Nolan on the insurance, there'll be a new mayor, and she's put in money there for that mayor that might need insurance. I'm not covered by our insurance plan, so that has to be projected as a possibility. That's the, was there anything else, Ms. Nolan? I think that was about it.
That was it.
Everything else is pretty much the same.
It'd be good if our two candidates were here so I could ask them if they'd accept the
What kind of
mayor's
insurance do you want to
recommendation.
budget it?
The wishes of the committee.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner P. Commissioner Jernigan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Environmental, page 6.
So environmental is just where we have the space up there that we lease to the state for their soil testing purposes. So the $600, was it 600 in there? Yeah, $600. That's just for, I guess, our cost of a telephone or whatever.
Just that one line.
Codes compliance, environmental, 51,750.
Motion to approve.
Thank you,
Second.
Commissioner Allen, Commissioner Schaefer. All those in favor, Mr. Schaefer, you got
Yeah, I
it.
was just going to say, is that the one that gives the state permits on
Yes.
certain things around?
For soil, septic tanks, et cetera.
Stuff like that, okay. Think of them.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Page 10, finance, Ms. Nolan.
Okay, Ms. Nolan, we only have a small change or so here, but the recommendation is $1,256,595, which is just a few $100 more than her request, but the current amended budget's $1,306,419, so there's only one or two little things here, and on line 119, she has a person that's retiring, and she can't let that person quite get away till they help her close out this year in books. So she needs another about 120 days to pay that person. So that's why you're seeing that 629, which is current budget, go up to about 656 just to accommodate that need. And the comptroller is increasing what we have to pay them to audit us every year. So that 94,005 is going up to 100,300.
Actually,
That would be 97.
yeah, it's going to go up this current year, but we'll fund it within our budget to pay this
It's already
year.
up in 97,
So
we
it's
just haven't paid it.
Well, we haven't got the bill yet, we just got notice that they are going to increase 3%. And so,
For the work they've already done.
it will be for the 2017 audit, yes. And so the law changed to where they could change it 3% every year. So I budgeted another 3. And my employee that's leaving, June 30th to leave the finance office is the worst time for us to have somebody leave. So, but it's the beneficial time to retire.
Ms. Nolan, do you accept the mayor's recommendation?
Yes, sir.
The wishes of the committee.
Motion to approve the request.
Thank you, Commissioner Schaefer. Commissioner Jernigan. Other questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Anything under other business?
Yeah, I have one item. You know that the Budget Committee and then the full commission has approved us making this donation on the Jeff Coos Memorial that's being put up. And as a result of that, we have an invitation. You're probably all over this. There is a patrons banquet, and they've allocated us 10 seats. So what I'm suggesting here, those of you on the Budget Committee, we're going to give you first dibs at this. And if you'll tell me how many of you want to go, it's on June the 8th at the Smyrna Event Center at 6 o'clock. And they do say it's semi-formal attire. So everybody's going to have to wear a coat and tie. All right. So all that being said, if you would tell me officially, or Lisa or somebody, if you want to attend, and if all of you attend, that's fine. But if some of you don't, we're going to, whatever seats are left, we're going to tell the full commission, and all of those that want it, then we're going to draw out, and we're going to, by lottery, we're going to draw out the remaining 2 or 3 or 4, whatever it turns out to. Okay. So.
You can tell us tomorrow.
And I have to, when does I have to respond to this somewhere?
Was it this week?
By May the 18th. So I need to know by the end of business on Thursday night who's going.
You can add my seat to your number that you have, so I won't be able to make it.
All right. So the rest of you tell me, please, what you choose to do.
You want to stay right now?
Okay, so we got, well, I could just call, we could call a roll and say, you may want to share with your spouse.
I'll be glad to go.
So we got.
Are we including spouses?
No, no spouses.
That's what
We don't have enough to do that.
I didn't think we were going to do it.
All right,
I'll be
so we
glad
got-
to attend.
Yes.
You're going to be there probably anyway.
I'll be there anyway, yeah.
But you're going to sit with us.
Yeah.
And Joyce? She's not going, so there's 2.
I'll go.
We got 3. All right, so put that down, Lisa.
Okay.
You got 3, and now, so that means we got 6 more available seats.
Where you going?
I'm a-going.
Okay.
3 plus 1 is 4.
6 seats.
Okay.
And they
Thank
are
you.
also selling T-shirts at City Hall. They're on the 9th. They're want to paint the whole town blue. So you can buy and all the funds will go towards the memorial as well. So, but yeah, and I'm sure I'd be surprised if they don't have them for sale that night. So.
Is there any other business coming for us now? I will make a sarcastic remark if we're on TV. We've got 2 candidates up for election for county mayor in August. I would have thought they'd want to sit through these budget hearings because one of those is going to be doing this next year, and I would urge them to come to as many of the budget meetings as possible, because if you're going to run the show next year, you need to pay attention to this year. And whether that's either one of the 2, Ms. Brown or Mr. Ketchum, in my opinion, they ought to be sitting in this room. That's just my opinion, ought to be yours. Besides that, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.